I was born in New Jersey, and not too far from New York City. And Nyack College in New York, just 20 miles north of the city, wasn't too far away. So I always planned to go to Nyack to study to be a pastor.
I was born in Durham, North Carolina, and raised there, and so I wanted to go to Nyack College because I wanted to be a missionary, and it was where the missionaries were trained for the Christian Missionary Alliance. So I went those 500 miles up north, and that's where we met.
Which was a long ways in those days.
It was. No
interstates.
Interstates, yeah.
Took a while to get up there.
Yeah, and that's where we met.
Because I was there a year already, when Jerry came, I got the assignment to take a new group of students around to the faculty homes. So it just so happened that Jerry was in the group that I got to take around, a group of about 15 kids. And we spent the whole evening going around to the different faculty homes, and I, of course, had my eye on this rather extraordinary young lady from North Carolina, who I could hardly understand, by the way. And that's the first we met.
I spoke a different language.
Yeah.
The perfect language.
And about 2 weeks later, we had our first date. I asked her if she'd like to go down to my house, which was in New Jersey, about an hour drive away. So she thought, okay, she got permission to go, and we double dated with another couple, good friends. And that was our second date. And something rather extraordinary happened on that date.
Can I tell that?
Okay.
Okay. On the way back, we were sitting in the back seat, and Peter, not close together, and he reached over and said, "Can I hold your hand?" And I thought, oh my, this is going pretty fast. So he said, I have to tell you, I know that you don't feel this way, and but I'm sure that you are the person I'm going to marry. And I thought he was crazy. So it's a crazy story, but for Peter, it was love at first sight.
And
he doesn't say that, but
and your dad, the last thing he said to Jerry before she left to go to college was, "Now don't go up there and marry some Yankee." So that's what you did.
But he loved this Yankee.
So that's how we met. We dated for 3 years, got married 3 days after graduation.
It was interesting because we got married on a Thursday night. We drove down to North Carolina. All of our friends that we wanted in our wedding were going home for summer jobs. So they didn't want to take a long time. So we planned it for them so they could come right out of college down to North Carolina and be at the wedding, and then they would be able to go home to work. So that night it rained so hard and creeks overflowed. I remember the guys were all together and they were trying to get to my house, and they went through a couple of floods. And so everybody came just drenched.
And then we had a honeymoon. We took a week's honeymoon in, have you ever heard of Fontana Dam, North Carolina? It was western North Carolina. It was a big dam there, and they made it into a recreational area. We'll have to tell you this story because we planned ahead, and we paid for a romantic cabin, and that night Jerry got up to use the restroom, and what did she find but a mouse was floating around in the toilet.
Well, I wasn't into this kind of thing.
Well, that freaked her out.
So I jumped on the bed and I said, "I'm not getting off of this bed."
And I said, "Jerry, you're going to be a missionary. You got to at least put up with a mouse in the toilet."
I said, "Well, that when I'm a missionary, I will, but not here in this country."
In the Christian Missionary Alliance, the group that we were associated with, before you can go overseas as a missionary, you need to serve in a church for a couple of years, learn how to preach and so forth. So we actually started a little church in western North Carolina, not too far from Asheville.
Yeah.
And we were there for a little over 2 years. Our first child was born there, a daughter. And then in late 1961, we left for Indonesia. We went on a freighter, which was an interesting experience. We left.
Took us 2 months
Yeah.
to get there.
We left
2 months.
And we left from San Francisco on this freighter, and we went out under the Golden Gate Bridge on Christmas Eve. So that was quite an experience.
Yes.
And yeah, 2 months to get to Jakarta, and then we served there for a total of about 18 years.
We served in different places. Our first term there, we were in the jungle in Borneo, or Kalimantan it's called now.
Yeah.
So we lived in the jungle. We had 2 preschool. We had a child doing language study. So we had 2 preschoolers. No electricity, no water in the house.
So
no
that
bathroom
was
in the
really
house.
exciting. We had a wonderful time there.
Yeah.
We left Indonesia in 1979 and came back and started working at the CNMA National Office. And Jerry worked at the college, which was nearby there. First in charge of our work in East Asia and the Pacific Islands. We had about 350 missionaries there at the time, because all the Canadian missionaries served under our administration. So we did that for about 12 years. Then we moved to Colorado because the national office of the CMA moved there. So I had different roles at the national office. I actually stayed there for over 25 years.
But again, he was headquartered out of the national office. He was still doing mission work because he was in charge of Asia, then he was in charge of all the Alliance missionaries for a number of years. So he traveled all over the world. And then he became president of the Christian Missionary Alliance. And so that was all the churches in this country. And we traveled overseas also. So we've had a lot of experiences and fun things to do.
Yeah, exciting life.
And
Now we're slowing down at Shell Point. And I don't think that when you're first married, you recognize all those qualities, even though you think you know the person well. Well, we've dated for three years, but after you get married, you discover a lot of other things about the person that you've married. And so I came to really appreciate a lot of the exceptional qualities that she has, in addition to being quite beautiful, I might say. I don't know about you.
I think also having the same goals in life, and Peter and I both were called by God to be missionaries and to serve people and to be in ministry. And we both had a calling, but for Peter and I, we have the same goals. So when things got tough, our goals were the same. So that helped us to get through the tough times, because marriage is not perfect. You know, everybody knows that that's been married. But we really loved each other and loved God, and combined those two together gave us a happy life.